Record చేస్తున్నా. Hello friends. Today in this session we are going to learn about ecological adaptations of xerophytes. Xerophytes are a group of plants that survive in dry regions. For example, deserts or hilly regions which are very dry. They adapt themselves to these dry, sandy or rocky soils having poor water content and extreme atmospheric conditions. You can say harsh conditions. They can withstand drought, intense light, extreme temperature and strong wind. So these kind of habitats are called as xeric. So the plants which are growing in these xeric conditions are called as xerophytes. These are able to live in these environments because they contain special features that help them to prevent water loss. These special features are called as the adaptations. So xerophytes show some adaptations to adjust to their harsh surroundings. For example, some xerophytes have waxy covering over their stomata, thus they prevent water loss through transpiration. So in some cases, there are very few stomata, or if they are present, they are only opening at the night. These adaptations limit the loss of water and allow the plant to survive in extreme dry conditions. Some of these xerophytes are having ability to store water. They are called as succulents. This is another type of adaptation to xeric conditions. Now, depending upon their capacity to withstand drought, they are divided into ephemerals, succulents, and true xerophytes. Ephemeral annuals, or these are also called as drought escaping plants because they escape the xeric conditions. They complete their life cycle before the arrival of dry conditions. That means even if they are growing in the deserts, during the rainy season or during those few days when the rain occurs, they immediately, the seeds germinate, grow vegetatively, flower, then get pollinated, produce the fruits and seeds and die. So actually, they are not living in drought, they are escaping drought by developing only during rainy season or during the season where the water is available. For example, you have Argemone mexicana, Acacia, Solanum xanthocarpum, etc. The next category is succulent. These are called as drought evading plants because even though they're living in xeric conditions, their physiology is not in xeric condition. That means inside the plant, they are storing water in the form of mucilage or accumulating water, whether it is in leaves or stems or roots, by taking water whenever it is available. They are perennial, they are not annual like ephemerals. So these are drought evading xerophytes. Example, Opuntia, aloe, cactus. So these are the examples that we have seen just now. Argemone mexicana and Solanum xanthocarpum, these are drought escaping, that is, these are ephemeral annuals. Whereas Opuntia, aloe and cacti, these are drought evading. They are growing in xeric conditions only, but they store water in the form of either water or mucilage in their roots, stems or leaves. So they are succulent. Then comes the category which are called as true xerophytes, or they are drought resistant, or they're also called as perennial non-succulents. They grow perennially. They're not succulent. They're not storing water in the form of mucilage or water. They're not accumulating water. They're not annuals. So these are drought enduring xerophytes or true xerophytes. They grow in habitat with almost no water, and they can also not store water. During drought, growth of the plant stops, and it takes place only during the brief period of plenty of water supply during rainfall. Example, Nerium, Calotropis procera, Acacia arabica, etc. So this is Nerium. This is Calotropis and Acacia arabica. These are all non-succulent perennials or drought-resistant perennials or true xerophytes. Now, how are these xerophytes able to adapt to their surroundings? They exhibit some special features by which they can adapt to the xeric habitat. First, let us understand the morphological adaptations. Roots of these xerophytes show the following xerophytic characters. That is, they are very well developed. The root system is very strong and very well developed. They go very deep, and also they occupy a lot of space. They spread wherever the water is available. They can go there deep down. Then the plants are usually having a long and stout taproot which branches profusely. The root hairs are present abundantly, and the roots go deep into the soil in search of water. The shoot is generally hard and woody. It is mostly covered with hairs or wax and silica sometimes. The stems are also could be sometimes fleshy, and growth remains stunted like in the case of Opuntia. Some of the plants show modified stems. Just now we have discussed, like for example, in Opuntia, the stem is not seen as stem, but it forms a leaf-like structure termed as phylloclade. So here, whatever you see here in this Opuntia, which is looking like a leaf which is having thick structure and thorns, is nothing but a stem or a branch, you can say, and the spines are nothing but the modified leaves which are there for control of transpiration. So this structure is called as a phylloclade, a stem which is modified like a leaf. In asparagus and in ruscus, the leaf structure formed because of this adaptation is called as a cladode. That is, it is a phylloclade with few internodes. When we come to the leaves, they are modified in such a way that water loss due to transpiration is reduced to a minimum. Depending upon the shape of the leaves and their structure, xerophytes are classified into 4 classes. Sclerophyllous. Here the leaves are stiff and hard, like for example Banksia. Trichophilous. Leaves are covered with hair, example Nerium or Calotropis. Microphyllous. Leaves are smaller in size and reduced, that is, sometimes they are completely reduced to very, very small structures, for example asparagus, casuarina, pinus, etc. Then malacophilous, that is, leaves are soft and fleshy, example begonia and salicornia. The pictures of these examples that we have studied just now are given here. This is Banksia, which is having lot of, the leaves are stiff and hard. Casuarina, reduced leaves. Then this is a pinus leaf, which is like a needle. Begonia, thick fleshy leaves, and salicornia. These are the leaves which are completely soft and fleshy. Sometimes in xerophytes, leaves are caducous, that is, they fall off after some time or some development or some growth. For example, euphorbia. In some cases, they may even be absent. For example, Capparis aphylla. Capparis aphylla, the name itself is suggesting that there are no leaves here. Very funny character is shown by the leaves of the grass. These are having some bulliform cells in their epidermis, which we will discuss in the anatomical structures, because of which the leaves roll when the conditions become dry and hot. When the leaves roll, the stomata are not exposed to the atmosphere, thus reducing the water loss through transpiration. Reproduction, most of the xerophytes multiply by their perennial organs such as stem. They also reproduce sexually when water becomes available for the growth. Next, let us come to the anatomical adaptations. They have thick cuticle to stop the loss of water through transpiration, both on the stem and on the leaf epidermis. Waxy layer is present on the epidermis for reflection of the light, because light intensities are very, very high in these areas. The chlorophyll might get photo-oxidized, because of which it has to be protected. And this waxy layer is seeing that the light is reflected so that it is not harming the internal organs. Stomata are present, but they are sunken. A thick envelope of hair is present on the epidermis and around the sunken stomata. This hair says that it is insulating the inner cells or the structures from the outer atmosphere, and it checks the increasing temperature. Then epidermal cells are radially elongated to absorb necessary amount of light. Leaves are small, sometimes reduced, sometimes they might even be absent. If so, the palisade and parenchyma are present in the cortex of the stem, because of which it can perform photosynthesis and produce the food. Intercellular spaces are only very, very few, and they are also very, very small. Mechanical tissues like collenchyma, sclerenchyma are very well developed. They have water storage tissue inside their bodies, maybe in the roots or in the leaves or in the stem. Tracheids, parenchyma, intercellular spaces, mucilaginous substances are generally present for absorption and retention of sufficient amount of water. So all the internal organs or internal anatomical features are modified so that they can store sufficient amount of water. Vascular tissues are present in very well developed condition, and in some desert grasses, the leaves roll due to the presence of special cells called as motor or bulliform cells in the epidermis. These cells are sensitive to changes in turgor and thus contract when the conditions are very dry. This results in the upward rolling of leaves and cutting of stomatal contact with external atmosphere. Hence, it reduces the rate of transpiration. This feature is termed as hydrocasia. And lastly, let us understand the internal structure of one example, that is nerium. Let us see the structure of the leaf of the nerium. It shows the following characters: epidermis, mesophyll and vascular tissues. Epidermis, that is both upper and the lower epidermis, are multiciliate. Usually, you will see only uniciliate epidermis. This is a feature of xerophytes, especially true xerophytes or perennial non-succulent plants, where the epidermis is multiciliate. And on top of this epidermis, you will find a very thick cuticle. Stomata are present only in the lower epidermis, and when they are present, they are sunken very deep. And these sunken stomata are covered by a dense cluster of hairs. The mesophyll is differentiated into palisade and spongy parenchyma. Palisade tissues occur both near the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis, whereas spongy parenchyma is present in between. You can see numerous crystals of calcium oxalate in the palisade cells. In the midrib, only parenchyma is present instead of palisade and spongy parenchyma. Vascular bundle is present in the midrib, that is larger than the ones which are present in the wings. A parenchymatous bundle sheath surrounds each vascular bundle. Here you are able to see this vascular bundle. They are covered by a parenchymatous bundle sheath. Xylem in the vascular bundle is towards the upper epidermis and phloem is towards the lower epidermis. We can see the thick cuticle, multiciliate epidermis, both upper and lower side. Then the stomata are present in the sunken chambers and they are covered by the hairs, dense cluster of hairs. You will see both palisade on both the surfaces, that is upper epidermis and the lower epidermis nearby. Then spongy parenchyma is present in between the two. So this is the internal structure of a xerophytic leaf, which shows all xerophytic adaptations. We will summarize it and say that in Nerium leaf, the xerophytic characters are presence of thick cuticle, upper and lower epidermis are multiseriate or multiple, sunken stomata, cluster of hairs cover the sunken stomata, numerous crystals of calcium oxalate are present in the palisade cells, well-developed vascular tissue. These are all the xerophytic characters that you can see in Nerium leaf tears. Thank you.